Christian philosophy and God in the Upanishads. I have spent several years studying the Upanishads, the scriptures of Hinduism, and discussing them with Hindu friends and practitioners. In this video, I discuss how logical extension of the reasoning of the Upanishads point to one highest God, similar to how Christian philosophy points to one highest God. The Upanishads use Sanskrit terms that are unfamiliar to many people, so I will provide a brief layperson definition when we come across the terms. Hindu Upanishads, Hindu scriptures. 1. The Upanishads teach both dualism, Advaita Vedanta, and monism, Advaita Vedanta. Dualism teaches that God is different from, and transcendent to, his creation, the physical universe, and us. Christianity is dualist. Some forms of Hinduism are dualist, e.g., Advaita Vedanta. Monism teaches that reality is all one. There is no distinction between anything and anything else, and that there is no distinction between God and the universe. Some forms of Hinduism are monist, e.g., Advaita Vedanta. Some Hindu gurus and schools of thought interpret the Upanishads in terms of monism or non-dualism, Advaita Vedanta. Other Hindu gurus and schools of thought interpret the Upanishads in terms of qualified monism or qualified non-dualism, Vishishtadvaita Vedanta. Other Hindu gurus and schools of thought interpret the Upanishads in terms of dualism, Dvaita Vedanta. 2. Maya, a word understood by many to mean that everything is illusion, if literal, is incoherent. I.e., if everything is illusion, that means that nothing is real, and nothing is true, and everything is false. Such literal Maya means that everything is illusion, which means that everything is not real, and so everything is false, i.e., not a true representation of reality, which means that the claim that everything is illusion is itself false. That means that the statement that everything is illusion is false, which means that Maya is false. So, literal Maya is itself incoherent or false. 3. However, Mitya, as an understanding of the Upanishads, can make sense, i.e., it is a temporary illusion or misunderstanding of reality, that all that exists is the physical world, so the physical world is Mitya. 4. The Upanishads have significant portions that are rational and logical, where they discuss and categorize the nature of things we observe in reality and in human consciousness and experience. 5. However, the final conclusion of the Upanishads, that I am God, as presented by many gurus, is based on a non-rational or non-logical extrapolation from the following observation. I.e., the guru or yogi meditates and looks within himself, and he experiences something that he interprets as Brahman, ultimate reality, that is Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, and bliss. 6. The extrapolation from that observation, to the conclusion that I am God, as some gurus teach, is not a logical conclusion based on the observation above. So, that is where the logical or rational chain of reasoning of the Upanishads or of the Advaita Vedanta understanding of the Upanishads fails. And that conclusion, that I am God, is clearly false as seen by the following. A. Every Advaita yogi, Hindu practitioner of spiritual yoga, and Advaita guru, teacher of Hinduism, is working hard, through meditation and various spiritual practices, to reduce and eliminate pain and suffering in their lives. B. They all believe themselves to be God, as in, I am God, but none of them is able to eliminate the deterioration of their bodies over time, and the resulting physical pain and suffering, and the final deaths of their bodies. C. In addition, our human experience is that we do not like suffering. So, if I am God, the ultimate creator of the universe, then I would desire more than anything to eliminate my pain and suffering. But I am not able to do so, and neither is any yogi. They may be able to make themselves indifferent to the sensation of pain, but they are not able to stop the physical signs of deterioration of their bodies until they die. D. A stated purpose of yogis and gurus is to teach us spiritual practices to reduce suffering. That means that they want to eliminate pain and suffering of other humans if they were able to do so. However, they are not able to do so. This proves that they do not have the kind of power that would be needed to create the physical universe. So, the yogis and the gurus are not God. And so, neither are we. 7. An individual guru is not much help to come to a final conclusion about the Upanishads, because different gurus contradict each other, based on the same Upanishads. This is because the Upanishads are written with cryptic aphorisms that can be interpreted in a variety of contradicting ways. This has led to multiple different, contradicting schools of thought on the Upanishads. 8. However, for me, reading books by various gurus has been helpful in the sense that each guru has helped me to understand his view of the Upanishads. 9. A common thread, however, is that the Upanishads teach that ultimate, the highest and deepest, reality is Sat Chit Ananda, existence consciousness bliss. 10. Logically, that points to the existence of God. Here is my reasoning. Existence, Sat, cannot exist by itself, i.e., existence is an attribute. So something, or some entity or some being, has to exist for existence to be real. If God exists, then the attribute, existence, is real. If nothing exists, and so God does not exist, then the attribute, existence, cannot exist. Therefore, for existence to be real, something, or some entity, has to exist. That ultimate entity that exists is God. Similarly, consciousness, chit, cannot exist by itself, i.e., consciousness is an attribute. So something, or some entity or some being, has to exist and be conscious for consciousness to exist. If God exists, then the attribute, consciousness, exists. If nothing exists, and so God does not exist, then the attribute, consciousness, cannot exist. Therefore, for consciousness to be real, something, or some entity, has to exist. That ultimate entity that exists, and is conscious, is God. Similarly, bliss, Ananda, cannot exist by itself, i.e., bliss is a state of an entity, or an attribute, blissful or blissfulness, of an entity. So something, or some entity or some being, has to exist and be blissful for bliss to exist. If God exists, then the attribute, blissfulness, exists. If nothing exists, and so God does not exist, then the attribute, bliss, cannot exist. Therefore, for bliss to be real, something, or some entity, has to exist. That ultimate entity that exists, and is blissful, is God. So, logically, the endpoint, Vedanta, of the Vedas, Hindu scriptures, and the Upanishads is, or points to, the fact that God exists, as the ultimate first cause, and the ultimate entity that exists, and is conscious and is blissful, and that entity, God, is the ultimate source of existence for everything that exists, and the source of consciousness for every creature that is conscious, and the ultimate source of bliss for every creature that experiences bliss. 11. This understanding of the Upanishads, that I present above, is exactly the same endpoint of Christian philosophy, at a deeper level than most layperson Christians or layperson Hindus are aware of. Further comments. 12. Dualism and monism contradict each other. Maya is an attempt to resolve that contradiction by teaching that dualism is completely false, i.e., it is a false illusion. Mitya is an attempt to resolve that contradiction by teaching that dualism is real, but temporary. 13. So, in a Mitya view, dualism, Advaita, is true for now. So the physical universe, and our bodies etc. are real, and not illusions, but they are temporary. However, what is eternal and unchanging in its nature, is monism, Sat Chit Ananda. 14. That view, Mitya, temporary, is exactly what Christian philosophy has always taught, with the caveat I mentioned above, of Sat Chit Ananda requiring the actual existence of a being that is God. 15. In Christian philosophy, God is eternal, and God is the entity that exists, is conscious, and is self-sufficient and needs nothing outside of God, and so is at peace and bliss. So, the Christian philosophical view of God matches the logical and rational extension of the Upanishad view of Brahman, i.e., Sat Chit Ananda cannot exist by themselves. They can only exist in a being that exists and manifests Sat Chit Ananda. 16. In Upanishadic thought, Ishvara is a personal God, the creator and ruler of the universe. 17. In Advaita Vedanta, a school of Hindu thought, Ishvara is a manifestation of Brahman in the realm of Maya, false, illusion. So, that means, logically, that in Advaita, Ishvara is Maya, false, illusion, or Mitya, real, dualistic, but temporary, not eternal. In Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, another school of Hindu thought, Brahman is Vishnu, or Narayana, and Ishvara is the personal aspect of Brahman. That means that ultimate reality is both impersonal and personal, Ishvara. In that view, Ishvara is not Maya, and not Mitya. Ishvara is co-eternal with Brahman. In Advaita Vedanta, a third school of Hindu thought, Brahman and Ishvara are distinct, different, but related. Ishvara is a personal god, while Brahman is impersonal. Ishvara is co-eternal with Brahman. 18. The Upanishads present both dualism, Advaita, and monism, Advaita. So the Upanishads are open to any of the three views above. 19. Christian philosophy has grappled with exactly the same logical issues and has come to very similar conclusions about the one highest God. Christian philosophy. 1. God is by nature ontologically self-sufficient being, existence, the first cause and volitional entity, mind, and being that manifests Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, and the being that is the ultimate source, or ultimate cause, of everything that exists, Sat, and of every creature that is conscious, Chit, and the ultimate source, or ultimate cause, of every conscious creature that experiences bliss, Ananda. 2. In Christian philosophy, God is by nature eternal and unchanging, similar to, but somewhat distinct from the Upanishadic view of Brahman. 3. In Christian philosophy, God used his free will, an attribute of mind and consciousness, to choose to create the physical universe. 4. Once God created the universe, he then came into contact with an ontological relationship with the temporal, that which is temporary, and exists in time, i.e., the physical universe and all created creatures, such as us. 5. God created the physical universe in the first place, and he continues to sustain it, on a continuing basis. 6. So, ontologically prior to the creation of the universe, God existed in a timeless, eternal state. 7. After the creation of the universe, God exists in both timed and timeless realms. He is in the timed realm of the universe as well as the timeless realm that is transcendent to the universe. 8. In Christian philosophy, God is spirit, formless, non-material, eternal, non-spatial, and is both transcendent, above, and ontologically outside the physical universe, as well as immanent, in the universe, and throughout the universe. 9. In Christian theology, when Jesus came to earth, God took a temporary and temporal physical form, while on earth for the purpose of teaching us how to live, how to love one another, and how to obtain reconciliation with God. 10. So, Jesus, in a physical body, was the immanent and non-eternal physical form of God, because the physical body was temporary. However, his nature was that of God, eternal, unchanging in nature, ontological self-sufficiency, Sat Chit Ananda. 11. This has some similarities to the Upanishadic concept of Ishvara, personal, temporary, in Mitya understanding of Advaita Vedanta, but still a manifestation of Brahman Sat Chit Ananda, or co-eternal with Brahman, but also distinct from Brahman in Advaita Vedanta. 12. One difference is that Jesus is not Maya, as in Maya understanding of Advaita Vedanta. Jesus was and is real, not an illusion. Conclusion. 1. Christian philosophy has grappled with the same issues dealing with the eternal versus the temporal and how that applies to ultimate reality, and to God, as the Upanishads have. 2. The Upanishads teach that ultimate reality is Sat Chit Ananda, existence consciousness bliss. 3. Logically, this points to the existence of God, as the being, that manifests Sat Chit Ananda, since Sat Chit Ananda cannot exist by themselves without their existing in, or as attributes of, an actual being that exists. That being is God. 3. The Upanishads are consistent with my statement above, even though they do not explicitly extend the reasoning as we have done above. 4. Most Advaita Vedanta gurus do not make the logical step from Sat Chit Ananda, as ultimate reality, to the existence of God as the being that manifests Sat Chit Ananda. 5. However, the logical extrapolation from Sat Chit Ananda to the existence of God, as the being that manifests Sat Chit Ananda, would be consistent with Advaita Vedanta and Vishishtadvaita Vedanta schools of Hindu thought, even thought neither school has, as far as I have seen or heard, explicitly made or claimed that logical extrapolation. 6. Such a logical extrapolation is consistent with the Vedanta, the end point of Christian philosophy, which is the existence of God, as follows. God is by nature ontologically self-sufficient being, existence, the first cause and volitional entity, mind, and being that manifests Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, bliss, and the being that is the ultimate source or ultimate cause of everything that exists, Sat, and of every creature that is conscious, Chit, and the ultimate source or ultimate cause of every conscious creature that experiences bliss, Ananda. Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and comment below if you agree, or would like to add your thoughts.